There is a lot to look out for on the road, and it's human nature to look out for the things that could hurt us. But remove the large vehicles, the cars travelling beside us, those travelling the other way, those at the intersection. What's left? One of the things we could hurt. Riders. Driver, think rider. Rider, think driver.
Angel Heart Radio programs should not be used to replace your legal or medical advice. Welcome everyone to Angel Heart Radio. You are our focus. We want you to know that you matter in the world and that you're important to the world. We're here to remind you of just how valuable and needed you are right now. Help us to help others. If you like what you hear, tell your friends, post, tweet, pin, let everyone know how amazing Angel Heart Radio is. So again, welcome to Angel Heart Radio. Powered by love, Angel Heart Radio is sponsored by AngelLight777.com.
Hello everyone, I'm Annette McCoy, joining you as usual at this time. So thank you, as Anaya said, thank you wherever you are for choosing to listen into Angel Heart Radio. At this time every month I have the pleasure of having Marney Perna with me. Marney is a kinesiologist. She is also an author, an international speaker and workshop facilitator, to mention just a few of her tags. Marney, like myself, is also a very devoted grandmother, and we've just been chatting about how delightful grandparenting is and how blessed we are to have little ones in our lives. And I wonder, listeners, do you feel blessed at the moment? Are you aware of just how blessed you are? And sometimes, even though we might not feel blessed, it's really important at those times to have a look, have a think about, hey, what is there in our lives? And Marnie and I have great delight today in talking about the blessings of memories. Something else that sometimes we can tend to put maybe a negative spin on it, rather than thinking and being grateful for the wonderful memories that we do have. Marnie, I know that at the moment this is a very dear subject to you, so welcome, and I look forward to the next 55 minutes or so.
Thank you, Annette. And this 55 minutes goes so fast. I can never believe it's time up already. We have so much to say, and we have to get it out there really quickly. So, but yeah, memories are very much a blessing. Just also acknowledge that a memory is something that you've lived through. So when you have a memory, it's a gift or a stored image of an experience that you've already been through, and that's why it's a memory. So if you've had an unpleasant, you spoke then very briefly of unpleasant memories, which we'll deal with a little bit, but mainly the reason for having pleasant ones. But if you have a memory of an unpleasant time, remember that you are the author of your own book, and you can change your response or reaction to that memory. You can't change the incident that's happened, but you can certainly change the way you respond or your interpret and move forward. So if the end result wasn't perfect, say it was a traumatic memory, just for an example, I don't know, you might have fallen off off an edge or something and hurt your ankle. Each time you go near an edge, your body will respond to that memory. So you've got memory triggers in your muscle response. You need to be able to tell your body, yes, that did happen that time, but remember all the times that I didn't fall off the edge. I stepped off the pavement very easily, and that was awesome. So you have to build up a positive memory bank to the same emotion again. And that's where you use a lot of mindset and goal setting and positive intention work. And that's 90% of my business in clinic is helping people cope with something that's traumatic, but finding an affirmation or a response that helps them to cope better and have a more positive response in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So memory's not just in your mind, it's remember your muscles have a memory as well. So anything that's happened that's traumatic has a high negative response because it's, oh my God, this has happened. So you've got a piggy bank sitting there of negativity straight away. You need to build a higher piggy bank of positivity. And sometimes you need help with that, and if you do, reach out, the right person will be there. But just remember, it's as important as any wound care or any other kind of care. Care for your memories.
Right. Yes, and of course, at the base of all of that is caring for ourselves.
Absolutely.
This is one
self-nurturing.
Yes, this is one aspect of self-nurturing. Now, we might have people, Marnie, who are joining us for the first time. So our names might not mean a lot to them. They'll think, what's this on Angel Heart Radio? So here am I, Annette McCoy, a presenter every week. And Marney Perna, you, as I said at the start, are a kinesiologist, and you have a wonderful website that is a wealth of information as well as a contact point for people. Would you like to share the information so people who are drawn, especially by what we're saying today, and who might like to reach out to you, are able to?
Sure. It's my website is www.kinique.com. I have, plenty of places where you can click and contact me, but I've also got a very active Facebook page, which is Kinesic Kinesiology. So join me there as well, and always happy to chat with people.
Yes, both of us love a chat, do we not?
Apparently I can talk underwater with a mouthful of cement. It's one of my gifts. One of my blessings. It's great.
And may I say also that you are a very good listener. And, of course, that's important too.
Yeah, it is. So you need to be mindful. You need to be present in whatever you're doing. So present if you're doing the speaking, you need to be mindful about what you're talking about. If you're doing the listening, you need to be mindful to what the other person is saying. That way your heart ears are open, and that will make it easier for you to respond. And look, you don't always have to fix people when you're listening to them. We sometimes go into, oh my God, they need me to fix them. Sometimes they just need you to listen and go, oh really, I'm sorry about that. I'm sad that you've had that experience. You don't always have to then preempt it by saying, and I think you should do X, Y, and Z. Sometimes it's about just letting them vent. Let them have their say. Let them get it out in the open so that the universe knows how they're feeling, and then something can happen to make them feel better. Right? So you don't have to fix everyone.
Or even try to.
Absolutely. But because we come from a when you're in that mode, you feel as though that's why they're talking to you. But obviously, quite often people are talking to you because they need to tell someone. They need to feel safe about who they're speaking to, and they're not always looking for the answer. They're just saying, well, if I verbalise this, maybe I'll get the information. Maybe it'll come to me what I need to do. All right, so,
awareness. That's right. I mean, for me, there are messages around us all the time. It's a matter of being tuned in and aware that, hey, that feather on the ground, or that bird tapping on my window. Thank you for the message.
Yeah. Or the memory trigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like, it's kind of all interconnected, all right? So we live through an experience, and that living gives us memories, okay? We learn knowledge through reading. That reading gives us memory. So we sit back and we go, oh, I read something about that. I wonder what that was about. So although you mightn't remember the whole bit, you remember having read it, so then you start trawling and trying to look for where you actually saw that information. So it's a trigger. They're all triggers. So the memory is a trigger to a previous experience that has got some relevance to what's going on now, or it wouldn't show up. All right. So we were talking before the show about grandchildren, but I was also talking about how I'm someone, I love Facebook. I think it's wonderful. It has its challenges, absolutely, but it has its blessings as well. Same with the internet. Now, one of the blessings that I'm experiencing and living on a daily basis at the moment is the memories that Facebook pop up. So they'll say, oh, this happened 5 years ago, or this happened 6 years ago, or this happened last year or last week. And, you know, some of those memories are awesome, and they're very synchronistic. So I've got two different experiences I can share with the listeners. So one of them is I went through the journey. I was a carer for Mum, which most people from Angel Heart Radio would know. And Mum passed away not quite 2 years ago now. Now I'm getting the blessings of these beautiful posts that come up that's sharing Mum and I coffee chat journey, which was an experience that we shared over 12 months and more on enjoying cream cake and coffee and not being guilty about it, and taking photos of it and fun photos, and people would join us and go, oh my God, there's Marnie and Carmel having coffee chats. Can I join you? To watch those memories now come up is such a blessing and heart easing for me, because it's still positive. It's still saying, Mum's saying, hi Marnie, I'm still here. I'm having my cake and coffee in heaven, but geez, look what we did last week or last month. So it's a positive experience, and then I can share it, and other people say, oh, I loved your Mum's coffee chats journey, because this is my next book, is coffee chats with Mum. And it's going to be an inspirational picture book with antidotes in it and positive words and the reminder to connect with people again. And don't be worried so much, oh, my God, I shouldn't be eating cream and white cake, because, you know, white flour's bad for you and cream's definitely, you know, good. Who cares? You know, in the grand scheme of things, if you're not doing it, you know, every minute of every day, really is it such a deal? And Mum had such enjoyment of it and such relish to enjoy her Baileys and her cream cakes that we had health gurus that would contact me and say, oh, my God, I haven't had my cake fixed today. When's your next coffee chat? But she didn't have to have it to be connected to the memory of it. All right? It was just this positive experience. And so they're positive Facebook memories. And then I recently had an experience in my clinic with the TGA, which is Therapeutic Goods Association, and someone had apparently put a complaint in about the wording that I was using on one of my pages, which was about ear candling. Now, honestly, ear candling is such an innocuous thing. It makes you feel good. It's sustaining. It's just a lovely experience. But anyhow, that's, you know, life as it is. And so I had to deal with that and work out what I could do about it. And then lo and behold, about 2 days later, I get a Facebook memory that came up and said, oh, this is what you were talking about 2 years ago. And it was a Facebook Live on ear candling. And I went, oh, how awesome is that? It's, you know, the universe is acknowledging it's a lovely experience. Don't be limited by people who have got very shallow minds, and just to go about it and play their game if you have to, but don't stop doing what you're doing, because you are helping people, and it's something that people need to be aware of. So, you know, you can use your memories for different things. So I'm just asking the listeners, what has come up in your memory file in recent days or weeks? Is it creating a trauma trigger? Is it creating a positive trigger and a heart trigger? Do you need help interpreting it at all? Well, please feel free to ring in and chat with us, because we're here to assist you, the listener. And if we can enlighten the memory for you, it will help you. Because remember, it's a trigger. You need to know what to do with the trigger.
Indeed. So for those people who need a reminder of the phone number, it's if you're anywhere outside the United States, you'll need to have a +1 before 714 583 6858. And for those of you who have been listening for a while, you know that Marnie and I delight in interaction. So you might have been listening for quite some time and never felt the impulse to ring in. Maybe today's the day you'd like to ring in and ask a question or share a memory. Memories are just that. I know recently, Marnie, I was going through things that I had collected, and I found it interesting to be able to send cards and things back to people who had sent them to me like years ago, and to remind them of whatever might have been in it. And I know in some cases I said, yes, please, I would like this back. And in other instances it was a case of, well, thank you for the memory. I think it's time for me to pass it on.
Because that then triggers the memory of why it was sent to you. So if you're sending stuff back to someone, you're reminding them that you were thought of by them, and thank you. You know, so it's all that continuous circle of universal synergy. Now, I actually drew out 2 angel cards. I actually was only drawing out 1, but 2 fell out, of course, before the start of the show. So I'm just letting the listeners know it is time to release your secret desires. All right, so hand them over for safekeeping and invite a miracle at the same time. So they're the 2 cards that showed up, which was the peach angel feather and the burgundy angel feather. Now, there, another further little message for you is that the burgundy is all about fish and about spiritual aspects of life, so it's the metaphysical side of it. And the ladybird is the peach totem animal. So the ladybird is the nurturing, the mother figure. All right, so if either of those trigger a memory for you, or you've got a memory about ladybirds or fish, or about a trigger that's coming up, come on, give us a ring.
Absolutely. That number again is +1 for anyone outside the United States, then 714-583-6858. And as Marnie said earlier, reach out. Because sometimes when we are feeling depressed, the feeling is to go within and to stay within, shut yourself in your own cave, so to speak, when it really is important to reach out. Now, that might be by writing a letter, as Bob did, and the one that he wrote to his father and burnt. Sometimes we can write a letter to ourselves. Sometimes we're...
Also, too, just remember that we spoke about that you are the author of your own book, all right? So you have to take ownership and responsibility for your own life. So one other thing that you can do is you can use your own personal energy to create a different outcome, because your brain doesn't always understand reality. Sometimes the brain is influenced by external factors. All right, so you can take a memory, and look, you do this with safety and security. So if you're someone that is teetering on the edge, get professional help. Find someone who is a listener, a heart listener, who will just sit there beside you and not try and fix or do, but they will listen and provide that security or that link to grounding. But what you can do is you can open that experience. So say if that memory is traumatic, open the memory, acknowledge it, say, that time in my life really caused me a lot of trauma. And just use a little adage like however, and then say, however, I prefer a different outcome. And state the outcome that you would have preferred from the experience. Now, what that happens is it provides another opportunity or another option of the brain to the outcome. It means, okay, well, I didn't like that outcome. It is a lived experience. I understand that. I cannot change it. However, I can change my response to the memory. And my response to the memory is this one. And make it a higher vibrational energy weight than the negative one. Even if you're having to use, at the same time, having to use things like, I don't know, rose oil, or a picture of a rose, or a picture of someone who gives you security. All right, that use a memory link to create the positive outcome as well, because all of them together then create a different experience. And when a similar emotion comes up or a similar experience comes up, the body goes, oh, I've got 2 options now, or give it 3 or 4, so that you're not limited to one or the other, because your memories are also your survival mechanism. They are also your danger response. So the danger response, excuse me. Sorry.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. So the danger response is your primal survival mechanism. So there may be times when the danger response is relevant and you have to take notice of that. All right, but other times you can say, okay, yes, there was a danger 6th time, but this time is better.
Yes, you were talking about the cliff, Marnie, or if we slip, the same as if we've burnt ourselves. We can say, and we do say to young children, we warn them about something
don't touch
that is hot.
Yep.
Sometimes, sadly, they feel as though they have to test it for
Learn
themselves.
by experience, exactly. And know that they'll go, ooh, hot. They understand. It's like little children. I don't know if you've seen with your grandchildren, you're holding a hot cup of coffee and you'll say to them, it's hot, don't touch, but they keep wanting to, and the closer they get, before they actually, after the first time obviously, but before they actually touch it the second time, they pull their hand away and go, oh, hot. So they know, and they're just trying you on. Because at one stage they did touch it and it was hot.
Yes. That happened.
So they're all
for
memory
me.
triggers. Yeah.
Last night I gave Evie, who's 21 months, listeners, her dinner. And she was blowing it because obviously past experience, yes, it's hot. And I was able to say, no, it's okay. Blessings, aren't they? They're just gorgeous. Right. Well, Facebook. Marnie, you mentioned that earlier today. You've also mentioned that Kinesiology is your Facebook page where you share with people, and of course people can ask questions or get in contact with you, because after this morning they might be thinking, I'd like to reach out to Marnie. Maybe they might seek some professional assistance from you. So I know that they may contact you through Kinique.com. It's KINIQUE.com, or as you have also suggested, Kinique Kinesiology on Facebook.
Absolutely. And I've also got, I offer a 15-minute discovery session on my website now, so just tick that or contact me on that and we'll organise a Skype meeting or a phone meeting, and that will help you decide whether kinesiology is actually what you're looking for. So I talk about memories as well in my book. So you mentioned I'm an author. I wrote a book a couple of years ago called Creating Calm Amid Chaos. And in that I talk about, there's a section about top tips and using memories to enhance positive feelings. So a lot of us will have, depending on our age, I say a lot of us, but if there's younger listeners, they may not totally agree with this. But in the day before mobile phones and iPads and things like that, we used to use the camera to take a photo. And and I'm not being facetious here, I'm just saying this is, it's an easier way. Our photo memories now are more likely to be on a digital device. Whereas a few years ago, it was on actual photos and you got your pictures developed, is what they call them. So a lot of people will have, a lot of people will have memories sitting in a cupboard in their house that they're not using. Now, sometimes you get maudlin and you think, I'm going to go through all my photos, and you'll sit there and you'll enjoy flicking through the photos and seeing the memories and connecting back to it. Don't wait till you're not feeling well. Why not decide each month, depending on how many photo albums you've got, make it a monthly thing that you flick through a photo album and take out a photo that really, really has you smiling or connects to your heart speak and put it out in the open. Or what we did for my mum and dad when they moved from their house into a granny flat, space was of the premium, right? So they didn't have as much room in the granny flat as they had in their home. And Mum was an avid photo person, so we all took photos and we had them printed and gave them to Mum. So she had copious albums. She had flip albums that used to sit out. She had frames everywhere with photos in them. Now, she didn't have the same space to display all those. So my daughter and I actually got a rather large frame from a, like a $2 shop. It was quite big. And we got there and we made a collage of Mum's memories. So we sat and we thought, well, either the photos just go in a box somewhere and never get seen again, so they're really no point, or we cut them up and feel a bit naughty, but at the same time create this amazing, beautiful collage of memories for everyone, so that everyone that visited Mum would generally check out the collage to see if they were up there, right? So there was one child that apparently we hadn't put in there because we hadn't seen any photos, because they were large photos and we hadn't cut the large photos up. But it creates a talking point. It's a memory trigger. It's a connection to your past that is beneficial and pleasant. So if you have got a lot of albums under your cupboard, honestly, the person who inherits those won't always know what to do with them. So make some collages out of them. They will not go to waste. People are more inclined to share a collage of photos with family than they are an album of photos. Or if you're gifted on the computer, make some digital collages. You know, do some albums of memories on the computer like you do for 21st birthdays and weddings and stuff like that. You sit there and you scan all your photos and you put them in. It is so inexpensive nowadays to go to either the post office or one of the computer shops and buy a photo scanner, and you can scan all your photos so they become a digital imprint, which you then can do other things with. So what can you use your memories that are sitting in a cupboard, not helping you, what can you do with them to help yourself feel better? You know, it's another thing I offer the people listening. Make a collage of some of your photos and share them. I did a similar thing even for my daughter when she first went to university. She loves animals and she's now doing vet science. But back then it was her first year of uni and she was doing, I think she was doing engineering. And she had to board because she'd had a major operation on her knee and couldn't live at home. So we made a magnetic, like a placemat sort of thing that was magnetised of all her pets, and she had that with her in her room. So when she was feeling a bit down, she'd look over at the fridge and just see the magnet of all her wonderful pets at home, and it uplifted her. So you're not limited by how you can use these photos.
Yes, placemats is a great idea, and I've also seen coasters with glass ones, and you can put photos there. Be creative.
Absolutely.
And I totally agree. I have a huge tub of photos, and way back when we used to keep the negatives as well. Well,
yes. Absolutely.
Oh my. Incredible.
But I mean,
yes.
they give us something to do. They give us something to think about. I mean, even your wedding albums. I often get our wedding album out and go, oh, it was such a great day. I had so much fun. It's a long time ago, and you forget some aspects of it. But gosh, it's lovely to sit there and immerse yourself in these memories. You know, so we have a memory for a reason, especially positive memories. So use them to uplift our souls and our energy. If you're feeling a bit down, what memory? Like I use this for clients who are working in a situation or an environment where they're not feeling nurtured. They feel bullied. You know, they hate being at work. So their whole energy at work is one of negativity. So I get them to watch their favourite holiday snap. Have they got one? And generally there is one that you remember, oh yes, you know, this time I was doing this and this and this. I actually get them to take that photo to work and put it in a prominent place near their desk. Now, if they're in little cubicles, they can put it on the wall. They can put it on the corner of their computer, monitor, whatever, it doesn't matter. But when they're feeling overwhelmed with the negative energy of where they're working, now we're influenced by environmental factors as much as we're influenced by emotions and people. Have that picture somewhere close so that when you're feeling yourself caving in, look up at that photo. And generally, if you place it up to the right, to the top right sort of thing, it's a place where the mind goes when it needs to recall things. So place it up to the top on the right, and it gives you a pause button of how you're feeling. It will not change the environment. It will not change people bullying you. It'll change your energy response to how you need to cope better and be resilient. Right? It'll make you smile. So put it there, place it there, and use it. And the other thing you can use for a memory trigger is essential oils or the aroma or smell of something. So think back to your favourite smell. Now, some people some people have said if they've come from a farm, they love the smell of the chaff when it's first harvested. It's just got this unique, different kind of smell. So if that's a smell that you love, it's very hard to bottle that, but write that somewhere so that when you're feeling overwhelmed and you need a smell to bring you back to grounding, imagine the smell of that cut hay. And it'll take you back to a time that was a bit more carefree maybe, or it was just a time of abundance and fun. So think of the trigger. Think of an experience that you had that is a better option, and incorporate that somehow into your current life. All right,
absolutely.
So you can do lots of things. You can use the memory of taste. So what is your favourite? So when we were young, we were often given a certain food that made us feel better, right? And it became your go-to food. It wasn't always healthy. So, for me it was tin tomato soup and Vegemite fingers. So if I had to think of something that makes me feel nurtured, that's my food that makes me feel nurtured. My mum always said that I don't care if you haven't, we never had a lot of money growing up, so gifts weren't always expensive. But my mum always said the memory, give me a cherry ripe. It meant you cared. So for us, the memory of a cherry ripe. So if we didn't have the money to give something, we always made sure mum got a cherry ripe. Because that was for her. That was her gift, that someone cared enough to know that was something she loved. In later life, it became Bailey's. A little bit different, but we could all cheer, raise a glass of Bailey's, and mum knows that we're thinking of her. So use the gifts you have, use the knowledge that's within you, and dig deep. Look into your soul and say, okay, what are some of the things that are memories for me, but help me in my current life to be resilient and cope better and feel joyful? They'll be there. You need to look in and ask for them. Ask your angels or your guides, or if you can't remember and you're having a bit of a mental challenge, ask your family. What memory have you got of me that is positive and uplifting? And work on that and accept it and say thank you for letting me know, because then you're acknowledging that you listened to what they said. Don't discount it. Oh no, that was a time when I didn't do this. No. If that's their memory of you feeling happy and joyful, own it and say thank you.
Yes, because people can see us in a different light to how we see ourselves.
Yep. Absolutely.
How often people can say, oh, you look so well, and yet maybe it's a day when I'm not feeling particularly that way
energetic,
inclined. Yeah. So it's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, and memories change the world. A positive memory will change a person's life, because the moment that memory started or became was a pivotal time in that person's life. Now, in your life, you might not have remembered being a pivotal change maker in someone else's life, but you're not in their head, you're not in their heart and their soul. So for them, it's monumental. For you, it's just part of every day. All right, so we need to count, and we need to carry and collect the blessings of our memories, because they are our gifts from a past life to our present time. Simple as that.
Yes. I wonder how many listeners are aware of packets of photos that are either hidden in cupboards, or they might have been moved like mine have been over the years, but not necessarily taken out of the box very often.
No.
I tend to go for the closest if I'm looking for something.
Yes, well, I've just celebrated my 60th birthday, which was very exciting. And the children all got together with Santo's help, and they've done a collage for me, a similar kind of thing. They've gone through, Santo was able to sneak the albums out of the house without me realising. And they created a photo, like a multi-frame photo for me of different times in my life that they felt was pivotal. And there's one of me at my Holy Communion day, and another sitting on a bonnet of a car. And for them, it's just a fun photo. But as soon as you look at them, you go, oh, my God, I remember that. This was then, and this is what I did, and this is how I did it. So it's just lovely. And it creates such a connection. And it's such a heartfelt thank you and gift from people that have gone to the trouble of that. And they've just photocopied these pictures, so they haven't actually cut my real ones up and put them in there. So I still have the memories, but they've made this really lovely collage as well. So, I mean, you know, a memory is a gift that keeps giving. Positive memories.
Yes.
And the negative ones, as I said, if you have a negative memory, you can release those. You can let them go. You can't change what you've lived through, but you can change your response. And in the end, it's an individual choice that you make. And look, life does suck at times, and I'm not saying it doesn't, but you have a choice for a better future and better day. So choose an attitude of gratefulness or attitude of resilience or an attitude that will get you through to the next spot. You know, because tomorrow's a different day. So what memories from the past are you bringing forward to make tomorrow a better day? And it's kind of in reverse what I do with my vision board workshops as well. So when I run vision board workshops, I get people to cut out pictures that they just like for whatever reason. They don't always know why, and put them onto a board. And generally, their future has said to them, this will be a trigger for a better potential. Now, their conscious awareness is not aware of it just yet, but their subconscious is. So their subconscious is getting them to cut out pictures or colours or words or whatever that it knows in the future will be beneficial to it. And it's created this visual memory or visual blueprint of memories that you haven't had yet, but your body or your experience knows is going to provide a better future. So it's just limitless. The potential for using memories for positive is just phenomenal. Now, I'll share one other experience where a memory trigger helped a physical response in someone. I had a brother-in-law who'd had a serious cancer throat operation. So he was down in Brisbane. He was in the ICU unit having had his cancer removed, and he was feeling really, really unwell. He had a severe headache. They had given him lots of different drugs to try and fix it, and none of it was helping him at the time. And I was fairly new to kinesiology, so it wasn't something you could just say to people, oh, I'll give him some kinesiology, it'll be better. So we're in the middle of the ICU unit, and I looked at him, I said, would you like me to trial something for you? And he said, yes. And I did a concept that's called frontal occipital, or ESR, emotional stress relief. I simply put my one hand across his forehead. I cupped the back of his head with my other hand. And I said to him, what are you most looking forward to doing when you go home? And his response is, I'm going to have a cold beer. And I said, awesome. Imagine with your memories, just think of yourself enjoying that cold beer. Now that kind of took his focus away from the pain of the headache and all the situation and everything that was going on in his life, and allowed him to remember how that felt to have a cold beer and to know that he would get back to having one. Now that was personal. That was his memory that helped him move forward. And to this day, he still says to me, I will never forget the help you gave me in ICU and a cold beer. You know, now he didn't have the actual beer. It was the memory of being able to have one. And it was life-changing for him in that time. Right, so...
And that, your mention of the hand across the forehead and the other at the back of the head, that is so useful in releasing any pressure in the head as well. Yeah. So what it is the forehead part. So if you take your skull away and just think of your brain, the front bit which sits in behind your forehead is your frontal cortex. Now, your frontal cortex is where you come up with creative solutions. It's your opportunities. It's your immediate response. When you're in trauma, you're actually working from the back of your brain, which is your memory part of your brain and your survival mechanism that we were talking about earlier. And when you're under duress or stress, not a lot of blood flow goes to the front of the brain. So the act of putting your hand across the forehead heats
the forehead and creates a bit of heat attraction. So it attracts the blood to the front of the brain, and that then allows you to come up to creative solutions and thoughts and dissipate some of the negative response that's going on. So it's a physical reaction that has. It draws a blood flow again to the frontal cortex of the brain. When you cup your hand behind your head, so the area I'm thinking of is called the occiput, if you're technical. All it is the base plate of your head, kind of where your neck meets your head or your skull. That, when you cup that area, you're tapping back into old information and memory response and things like that. So by cupping the back of the head and the front forehead, you're actually taking the memories that you need and bringing it forward to the front. So you can Google that. Google emotional stress release, and it should show up. As I said, sometimes it's called frontal occipital technique, but that's a more technical term. So that's just saying the frontal cortex and the occipital part of the brain. So sometimes we talk technical stuff, and sometimes we say practical things. Is your forehead and the back of your head. That's all you need to know.
Yes. Oh, Google, isn't it wonderful? I delight these days. I usually get crosswords out because I do as much as I possibly can on my own, and then I ask Mr. Google. And it's really great because I learn new words. It's like, wow, I didn't know that.
It helps to link things too. I know with I use essential oils, I use bush flower remedies, I use lots of different memories, and sometimes I don't always have the picture of the thing that I'm looking for. So I will often, during the course of a treatment, Google the image of what I'm using so that people have a visual response as well. So they might have a memory, like a smell response or a taste response. But if you show them a picture as well, that creates that memory trigger, because it makes sense to them. And then I'll tell them to go home and Google the products themselves so that they learn their own story as well. Because the story of a product, again, is part of the benefit or the capacity to heal and move forward.
We are so fortunate to live in this time that we do. There is so much available to us. You know, people who can be housebound for a variety of reasons. You know, you don't have to feel alone if you've got a phone or a computer or an iPad. How wonderful. There's so much that's available.
Yep. It's fun too.
Absolutely.
Takes away hours. And how many people have been reading something and they think, I must look at that, and then they go from that to something else and something else and something else, and then you sit there and go, why did I look at that in the first? Like, what started this trajectory of journey here that I'm doing? And you can't always remember the starting point or how you got there, but you do get there in the end. So
you do.
It's all a bit of fun. So.
Absolutely. And that's what life is about. You know, having fun, creating fun for ourselves and for other people.
And choice too, Annette. Choose to have fun. Choose to feel fun and joyful. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what's happening in your life, there's always a blessing. Doesn't mean... And look, don't... when I first started doing natural therapies, I got a little bit tired of some of the... messages that I was being given because it didn't sit with my thought process, okay? And it's okay if things don't sit and you don't believe them, or you don't want to trust them straight away, or it doesn't make sense to you. That's totally okay, because your journey is such that might be the first time you've heard something. So I got a little bit miffed when people kept telling me, oh, didn't you get your lesson right the first time, that you're experiencing the same thing again? And look, you know, after a while I went, the next person that tells me that, I'm going to knock their block off, because it really annoyed me. And I sat and thought about it. I thought, what is a better way of thinking about this? And I came up with the wisdom of your heart. Now, this is a moneyism, okay? So what I realised was that our life is like a yin-yang symbol, and you can't have one side without the other. So you can't have dark without light, and you can't have sun without moon, and all those kind of concepts. All right, the total yin-yang experience. But I also realise that as a life journey, one side of it is our experiences that we've gone through, right? And that all gets collected in one side. The other side is the experience that we're getting through knowledge, which is different to actually living through something. Mm-hmm. The two of them have bits of each other in them, and that's okay. And they also meet together in the middle in the line. And the line that runs through the middle of the yin-yang symbol, I believe to be the wisdom of your heart. Now, the wisdom of your heart is where you make informed decisions from. So if you've gone through an experience and you've gained some knowledge and practical living learned lessons in that, if that experience comes up again in a later time, you have got different knowledge and times to put together to create a different option. So it doesn't mean you didn't get it right the first time. What it means, personally, I believe it means that you've lived through something to give you some pearls of wisdom to cope better or to make a different response down the track. Mm-hmm. And because it's all a journey, it's all a learning. And it's not about getting things wrong. It's about saying, okay, well, what do I know already? What is the wisdom of my heart that will help me make a better choice today? It's just to me, it's not a negative concept. It's a more positive way of looking at life. So what journey has the wisdom of your heart gone through that helps you cope better today? What memory can you bring forward, add extra knowledge to or different knowledge to, that gives you a different solution?
Very good. Very practical. I hope that what our listeners have been hearing today, Marnie, has been useful to them.
Yeah. And don't be overwhelmed by knowledge or what people are talking about. Take one drop. A pearl is made by a grain of sand, and it irritates the shell to create a covering. So it covers the irritation. And again, you get layers. So think of this as the wisdom of an oyster shell is a pearl. Okay, but it started as a single grain, as a single irritant. Mm-hmm. So look at if there's one thing, if there's a lot going on in your life, just say to yourself, I'm just going to work on one aspect. Because if it's too big, if it's too overwhelming, your brain will short circuit and you'll just implode on yourself. So do it gently. Be gentle with yourself. Say, I'm going to change one aspect of something that's going on, or I'm going to create a different outcome for one aspect, because it will have that domino effect. As one thing changes and finishes, it flows down to everything else that's going in your life. So don't be overwhelmed. Just go, you know what, that was a lot of information. I mean, the blessing of Angel Heart Radio and memories, you can look back or listen back to old episodes. If you can't get it all today, listen again. You'll hear something different. You won't hear the same thing. Use the blessings of memories as positive experiences.
Well, that's a very good thought for today, isn't it? Yes. What memories, listeners, do you come up? Do you have the same memories recurring? Or do you find that it's like a kaleidoscope and there are lots of different memories that come back to you? And that we have triggers, don't we, that people say to me, Marnie, before I go on my trips, make sure you take lots of photos. And I find that I take more photos with my mind, and when I'm in one place, it will trigger memories from maybe when I was there before or other places that I've been that are similar.
Yeah, absolutely. And something you just said a few seconds ago is, are you having some memories that are reoccurring? Now, there are times when our subconscious is attempting to let us know something or to remind us about something because it's important. So if you're having some reoccurring memories that you feel is like unfinished business, step back from it for a moment and just say, okay, universe, why are you reminding me so consistently about this? What do I need to do about it? And you'll be quite surprised that quite often the answer will come to you. So remember that sometimes the memories, the trigger memories, are a reminder for a reason. So investigate the reason and then deal with it. And if you can't deal with it, call us and ask for help.
Yes. Or call someone else.
Someone,
again.
Yeah, just whoever you're drawn to.
Yes. And again, Google is so handy. My goodness me. Kinesiology might interest you, and sure, you can connect with Marnie, even though she might be on the other side of the world to you. However, you might prefer to visit somebody face to face and not over Skype. So reach out, and it might not be a kinesiologist. You know, there are so many different kinds of professional people who are able to help us. So listen to your heart.
And feel safe.
Sorry?
When you're reaching out for something and it's new or different, make sure you feel safe. Use your memory trigger of safety to know that you're in the right space. If you feel uncomfortable or unsafe at any time, you have the authority to just get up and leave.
Very good point. And that's the wonderful part about this planet of choice, that there is so much out there, so many different people. Marnie, it has been a joy as always, and listeners, what a joy to share with you today. Please remember that if you would like to hear earlier shows that Marnie and I have presented, angelheartradio.com, and put in either Annette McCoy or Marney Perna, and the shows will come up. There are lots and lots and lots there. And there are lots of shows put on by other presenters as well. So give yourself a treat. Go and visit angelheartradio.com. And more importantly, have a wonderful, wonderful week. I'll speak to you next week in the Body Talk Hour.
You've been listening to another fabulous program on Angel Heart Radio. Our goal is to remind you of how much you matter in the world, and to let you know that we appreciate who you are in the world. You can check out who's on, when we're on, and who our guests are at angelheartradio.com. Everything is there. It's all just one click away. Angel Heart Radio programs are powerful tools to help you in your life and your life experience. They are not intended, nor should they, be used to replace your medical or legal advice. The views expressed by hosts, co-hosts, callers, guests and associates should not be construed as advice from Angel Heart Radio.
There is a lot to look out for on the road, and it's human nature to look out for the things that could hurt us. But remove the large vehicles, the cars travelling beside us, those travelling the other way, those at the intersection. What's left? One of the things we could hurt. Riders. Driver think rider. Rider think driver.